The stars shimmered softly in the endless darkness of space, their light faint against the vast expanse. For years, this region of the galaxy had been silent, a place where only the bravest dared to tread. The humans were gone, at least, that's what everyone believed. Once a proud and fierce civilization, they had disappeared, their colonies destroyed, their fleets shattered, and their homeworld reduced to whispers and myths. The galaxy had moved on, and so had its conquerors. General Varen stood on the bridge of his flagship, a massive vessel that was the crown jewel of the alien fleet. His species, the Xane, had long prided themselves on their dominance. Over decades, they had crushed every opposition, expanding their empire to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Humanity, with all its defiance, had been one of their greatest victories. But now humanity was no more. Or so they thought. The fleet was en route to claim the final remnants of what was once Earth's territory. A small planet, barely worth their attention, lay ahead. It was supposed to be uninhabited, its human defenders wiped out long ago. Varen considered it little more than a formality, a mission to secure resources and demonstrate Xane strength. He clasped his hands behind his back, his gaze fixed on the endless void beyond the massive windows of the bridge. Confidence radiated from him, as it always did. Victory was assured. It always was. "Sir, we're nearing the target planet," reported one of the officers, his pale green skin reflecting the dim light of the bridge. "Scanners show no signs of activity." Varen nodded, unsurprised. "Prepare the fleet for descent. Ensure all weapons are charged and ready. Even if the humans are gone, we will leave no room for doubt." The officers moved swiftly, carrying out his orders with precision. For the Xane, efficiency was paramount. Yet, as the fleet drew closer to the planet, something unexpected happened. A faint signal appeared on the scanners, barely detectable, like a whisper in the void. "Sir, we're picking up an anomaly," said the officer at the scanner station, his voice hesitant. Varen turned, his sharp eyes narrowing. "What kind of anomaly?" "It's a signal. Faint but growing stronger. It's coming from the far side of the planet." For a moment, the bridge was silent. Varen's mind raced. Could it be a human distress signal? No, impossible. The humans lacked the technology for such long-range communication, and they had been silent for years. Perhaps it was a malfunction, or some remnant of their primitive devices still clinging to life. Yet, something about the officer's tone made him uneasy. "Focus the scanners," Varen ordered. "Find the source." The crew worked quickly, adjusting their instruments to pinpoint the origin of the signal. As they did, the faint anomaly grew clearer, its presence undeniable. It wasn't a simple signal, it was deliberate, calculated. And it was coming from a region of the planet their sensors had marked as empty. "This doesn't make sense," muttered the scanner officer. "There's nothing there. No structures, no energy readings, just empty space." Varen's unease deepened. Could it be a trap? He asked aloud, though he doubted it. The humans lacked the strength for such cunning. They were broken, scattered, weren't they? "Sir," another officer called out, his voice trembling slightly, "we've detected movement." Varen's eyes snapped to the main display. The holographic projection of the planet now showed a small, faint object emerging from the shadowed side. It was slow, deliberate, as if revealing itself intentionally. "Magnify," Varen commanded. The display zoomed in, and the bridge fell into a tense silence. What they saw was no ordinary ship. It was massive, its dark hull sleek and angular, almost predatory in design. It moved with a purpose, its engines glowing faintly as it advanced. The Xane ships were masterpieces of modern engineering, but this was something else entirely. It felt ancient, yet there was no mistaking its power. "What is that?" someone whispered, breaking the heavy silence. Varen didn't answer. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. Could this truly be human? Had they somehow survived, hidden and rebuilt? It seemed impossible. And yet, here it was, undeniable and ominous. "Sir, the signal, it's coming from that ship," the scanner officer reported. "And it's increasing." Varen's composure wavered for the first time. "Prepare all weapons. Target the ship and fire on my command." The crew hesitated, their confidence shaken. The Xane fleet had faced countless enemies and triumphed every time. But this was different. Still they obeyed, their hands moving across consoles to ready the fleet's arsenal. The flagship's weapons powered up, their energy glow casting an eerie light across the bridge. Varin stared at the dark ship, his jaw tight. He wouldn't let fear take hold. The Xane were conquerors. They had defeated humanity once, and they would do so again. Fire, he ordered, his voice firm. The first volley of energy blasts erupted from the fleet, streaking through the void toward the mysterious vessel. The bridge held its breath as the weapons struck their target. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the ship emerged from the energy bursts, unscathed. Its hull shimmered faintly, as if it had absorbed the attack. Impossible, someone gasped. Varin's stomach tightened. Report, he barked. Sir, the ship, its shields absorbed the energy. No damage detected. A chill ran through the bridge. The Xane fleet's weapons were among the most powerful in the galaxy, capable of destroying entire planets. Yet this ship had withstood them effortlessly. Before Varin could issue another command, the dark ship began to glow. Strange, ominous turrets emerged from its hull, their energy building with a low hum that reverberated through the void. The Xane officers stared in horror as the turrets aimed directly at their fleet. Incoming fire, shouted the weapons officer. A single beam of concentrated energy shot from the ship, striking one of the Xane cruisers. The massive vessel disintegrated instantly, leaving nothing behind but debris and silence. The crew on the flagship froze, their confidence shattered. Retreat, Varin ordered, his voice sharp with urgency. All ships fall back. The Xane fleet began to scatter, their formation breaking apart as they tried to escape the dark ship's wrath. But it was relentless, its weapons firing with devastating precision. One by one, the Xane ships fell, their once mighty fleet reduced to chaos. As Varin watched the destruction unfold, a horrifying realization struck him. The humans weren't gone. They had been waiting, hiding in the shadows, and now they were back. This ship, this weapon, was proof of their resilience, proof that humanity was far from defeated. The dark ship loomed larger on the display, its weapons powering up for another strike. Varin's heart pounded as he gripped the console, his mind racing for a way out. But deep down, he knew the truth. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. The battle wasn't over. It had only just begun. Here's the continuation. The silence after the first sighting of the colossal human battleship was deafening. It was as if the entire cosmos had paused to hold its breath. On board the Crescent Horizon, Captain Arlen's crew scrambled to process what they had just witnessed. The faint silhouette of the battleship loomed in their minds as vividly as it had in the void of space. "This can't be real," whispered Ensign Mara, her voice trembling. She stared at the screen, hoping the image would vanish or reveal itself as some elaborate hologram. But the readings on her console were unyielding. This was no illusion. Arlen leaned back in his command chair, his gaze fixed on the massive form. His hands gripped the armrests tightly, the knuckles white from the strain. He wasn't one to scat easily, but this wasn't just another anomaly. This was something far more dangerous. "What's our distance to the object?" he asked finally, his voice steady despite the turmoil raging inside. "Approximately 2,400 clicks," replied Lieutenant Kiro, his usual confidence now laced with unease. "It's not moving, at least not yet." "Yet," Arlen muttered under his breath, his mind racing. The last recorded human battleship had been decommissioned over a century ago, during the final stages of the War of Attrition. Humanity's warships had been dismantled under the intergalactic peace accords, their technology either scrapped or sealed away in restricted archives. No one, not even the most daring black market dealers, had been able to access those blueprints. So how is it possible for one to be here, now, in uncharted space? Arlen's instincts told him to turn the ship around and retreat to the safety. Arlen's instincts told him to turn the ship around and retreat to the safety of map space, but he also knew that running wasn't an option. Not yet. The Crescent Horizon had been sent out to explore the unknown, to push the boundaries of what the Intergalactic Alliance understood about the universe. This ship was built for resilience, equipped with state-of-the-art tech meant to handle the unexpected, but nothing in its design prepared it for a relic of war to appear like a ghost from the past. "Captain, we're picking up faint energy signatures from the battleship," said Kiro, his voice tight. "It's not entirely dormant." Arlen frowned. "Define not entirely." "It's strange," Kiro replied, tapping rapidly at his console. "There's power in its core, but it's erratic, almost like it's been dormant for a long time and is now trying to reactivate." The room grew colder as his words sank in. The idea of a human battleship waking up after centuries of silence was unsettling enough, but the uncertainty of its intent was worse. Arlen could feel the weight of his crew's unease pressing down on him, their silent questions demanding answers he didn't have. "We need to scan it for any identifying markers," Arlen said finally. "If we can figure out where it came from, we might understand why it's here." Mara hesitated. "Captain, if we get closer, we risk drawing its attention. If it's armored." "Every second we sit here, we're already taking that risk," Arlen interrupted, his tone firm but not unkind. "If this thing has been out here for centuries, it might not even recognize us as friend or foe. We need to approach cautiously, but we need answers." As Mara and Kiro began adjusting their instruments, the tension in the air thickened. The crescent horizon inched forward, its engines humming softly against the vast silence of space. The battleship remained still, its massive hull a dark shadow against the faint starlight. It was unnerving how lifeless it seemed, yet the erratic energy readings hinted at something lurking just beneath the surface. Meanwhile, deep in the ship's lower decks, the engineering team worked to bolster the Horizon's defensive systems. Chief Engineer Valen had been with Arlen since the early days of his career, and if there was one thing the captain trusted, it was Valen's ability to prepare for the worst. "Captain's orders are clear," Valen barked, his voice echoing in the confined space. "Double-check every shield matrix and make sure the energy grid can handle a surge. I don't want any surprises if that thing decides to wake up angry." The engineers nodded, their hands moving with practiced precision. They didn't speak much, but their expressions mirrored the fear gripping the rest of the crew. They'd all heard the stories of the war of attrition, of battleships that could obliterate entire fleets with a single volley. To be face to face with such a vessel was like staring into the jaws of a long-dead beast that might still have a bite left. Back on the bridge, the scans began to reveal fragments of information about the battleship. Its hull was scarred, pitted with marks that spoke of ancient battles. Faded insignias adorned its sides, symbols of an era long past. One in particular caught Arlen's eye, a stylized eagle clutching a lightning bolt. "That's the insignia of the Atlas fleet," Mara said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They were the last line of defense during the final days of the war." Arlen nodded grimly. "Which means this ship was one of theirs. But why is it here, so far from any known battlefield?" As if in answer to his question, a low rumble vibrated through the horizon. The lights flickered, and for a moment, the crew froze. Then Kiro's console lit up with warnings. "Captain, the battleship's energy signature just spiked," he shouted. "It's powering up." The bridge erupted into controlled chaos. Arlen's orders cut through the noise. "Full shields up. All non-essential systems to standby. And get me a visual feed on that thing." The main screen blinked to life, showing the battleship in sharper detail. Its once dark hull now glowed faintly, as if an ember had been reignited within. The ship's massive cannons remained stationary, but their mere presence was enough to send a chill down everyone's spine. "Captain," Mara said urgently, "I'm detecting a transmission. It's faint, but it's coming from the battleship." "A transmission?" Arlen frowned. "Let me hear it." Mara adjusted the frequency, and a distorted, static-laden voice filled the bridge. It was garbled, almost incomprehensible, but a few words stood out: response, unauthorized presence, protocol, engage. Arlen's stomach sank. The battleship wasn't just powering up, it was reacting to their presence. The question was whether it saw them as a threat or something else entirely. "Try to reply," he ordered. "Let it know we're not hostile." Mara hesitated, then activated the comms.